Thanks for watching Lessons in Minutes with Jaylee. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Today's topic is partnership.
A key concept that you'll have to apply in responding to a partnership question is sharing profits or losses between partners. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to demonstrate how to share profits or losses between partners. Now, in sharing profits and losses, partners may decide to share residual profits or losses by using one of the following. The first one there is by way of ratio. The other is equally. Following that, by the capital invested by each partner, basically the capital contributed by each partner. Following that is by using percentages, and the final one is by way of fraction. So when you get a question, they may give you ratio, they may say to share equally, they may say to use a ratio based on the capital invested by the partners. You may be given percentages to share it, or simple fractions, right? Basically, when you look at all of these, the general thing is the ratio in all to share the profits and losses between the partners. Now, so we're going to look at examples of applying each. And the first one is ratio. The question read, the profit earned by the business after appropriation was 60,000. So that is after you pay out any reward to the partners and you're left with the residual profit. This is what you're going to share between the partners, and it is $60,000. The partners W, X, and Y decided to share profits in the ratio of 3 to 2 to 1, respectively. What is each partner's share of profit? The key thing coming from the question, one need to note that you need to ensure that you pick up the profit that you're sharing, the residual profit. And in this case, they're using a ratio of 3 to 2 to 1. And we're going to apply that. So based on the ratio, W is to get 3, while X is to get 2. That's why you're sharing it. And Y, based on the question, will be getting 1 of the total of the ratio. Now, in applying it, each of these numbers represent the numerator, and the total would represent the denominator. So I'm going to work out now the responses to see what each partner should get based on the ratio of 3 to 2 to 1, respectively. And we're going to begin with W. So W is to get 3 out of the total. The total right there is 3 plus 2 plus 1, and that gives you a value of 6. So basically, we're seeing where W is getting half, if you should simplify that, half of the 60,000 profit. And half of that give you $30,000. So W gets a profit of $30,000. That is W. Let's look at X. X is 2 out of the ratio of 3 to 2 to 1. So that is the numerator. That's 2 divided by the total of 6. So therefore, X is getting 1/3 of the profit of 60,000. So X is getting 1/3, which is $20,000 of the profit. And the final one is to calculate for the next partner, which is Y. We're calculating for Y. Based on the ratio, Y is to get 1, which is the numerator, divided by the total in the ratio, the total of the values in the ratio, and that is 6. So Y is getting 1/6 of the profit of $60,000. So therefore, 1/6 of the 60,000 gave Y a profit of 10,000 based on calculation. When you're finished, if you add up the results, you should get back the actual value of the profit. That is 30 plus 20,000 give you 50,000 plus 10,000 give you 60,000 in total. So remember, for the ratio, the numbers in the ratio give you the numerator for each partner, while the total would give you the denominator, and you multiply that when you create that fraction, multiply that on the profit or the loss to be apportioned to the respective partners. So we're finished with that. We're going to now look at another aspect of how profits and losses are shared in a partnership, that is equally, right? Now the profit earned by the business after appropriation was 60,000. The partners W, X, and Y decided to share profit equally. What is each partner's share of profit? And this is very simple when you're working with when you're sharing equally. In sharing equally, it is the profit, and that is divided by the number of partners in the business. In this case, the profit is $60,000, and we're dividing that 60,000 by the number of partners, which is 3. We have 3 partners, W, X, and Y, 3 partners. And our result is $20,000. So each partner would get $20,000 for their profit. So that is simple. So remember, when you're sharing equally, it is the profit, which is the residual value remaining in the business year after each partner have been presented with their reward of being the partnership, and you divide that by the number of partners. If it is 5 partners, you're dividing by 5. If it's 2 partners, divide by 2. If it's 10 partners, you divide by 10. Okay? So we're now going to take a look at another way in which profits and losses can be shared, and that is by the capital invested by each partner, the capital contributed by each partner. Now, all of this information would be presented in the partnership deed upon the start of the business. So the deed will indicate how, based on agreement among the partners, how the profits and losses are to be shared. But if there is no deed, it must be shared equally. All right? So we're going to look at capital invested. For the capital invested, still using that 60,000 as the profit. So we're still working with the 60,000 as the profit, and W, X, and Y decided to share profit in the proportion of their capital invested, and you're presented with each partner's capital. We're seeing where 25,000 is contributed by W, 35,000 contributed by X, and 40,000 contributed by Y. So it is capital contributions for each partner are 25,000, 35,000, and 40,000 respectively. What is each partner's share of profit? When you're working with capital invested, it is the partners capital divided by total capital. That is partners' capital divided by total capital. That is the capital contributed by each partner. So for W, we're going to calculate for W first. W is $25,000, and that is divided by the total capital. Total capital there will be the 25 plus the 35, which give you 60,000 plus 40,000, that give you 100,000. So that is 25,000 divided by 100,000. And you can simplify that times the profit of 60,000. If you simplify, that would just be a quarter of the 60,000, and that would give you $15,000. You don't have to simplify. You can just plug in the figures in your calculator because you want to ensure that you're accurate as possible in your exam. The next partner which is X. The calculation is 35,000 because that is the amount contributed by partner X. 35,000 divided by total capital of 100,000 times the rate, not the rate, but the times the profit of 60,000, and based on calculation, that would give you a value, which is a profit of 21,000. So based on calculation, X would get a profit of 21,000 out of the $60,000. And we're going to look at the final one, which is Y. So we're calculating the profit that Y would get out of that 60,000. Y's capital contributed is $40,000. We're going to divide that by the total capital of 100,000. And then we multiply by the profit of 60,000 to know what this partner would get. And based on calculation, the partner would get $24,000 as profit. And this partner that we are mentioning, that we have done the calculation for, is partner Y. So there you go. When you're asked to use the capital contributed, remember the formula is partner's capital divided by total capital, and you would multiply that by the profit. So you can indicate right here that you multiply that by the profit or loss. So there you go for capital contributed, if you're using the capital invested to share the profit among the partners. So we're going to look at another aspect, and that is where you are asked to use percentage using the same profit, and that is the profit earned by the business after appropriation is $60,000. The partners W, X, and Y decided to share profit using 20% 30% and 50% respectively. So W is to get 20% of the profit. X get 30%, while Y would get 50% of the profit. So here we go in our calculation, and I'll begin with W. W is to get 20%. So that's 20% times the profit of 60,000, and that give a value of $12,000 for the profit that W would receive out of that 60,000. So that is W. Simple. For X is to get a percentage of 30 of the profit of 60,000, and based on calculation, that gives a value of $18,000. So X would get 30% of the 60,000, and that result is 18,000. And moving on to the next partner, which is Y, and Y share of profit is 50%, so that's 50% times the profit of 60,000, and 50% is basically half, so half of the 60,000 give us 30,000. Again, when you're finished, if you should add up all the profit that each partner gets, you must get back the same value that you got for the residual value. In this case, that would be $60,000. And if you are working with fraction, because these can be converted into fractions. If you're working with fraction, then what would be done? To say fraction, and you're working with 20%, then 20% converted into a fraction would be 20 divided by 100, because that is 20%. And that would give you 1/5. So that is equal to 1 that is equal to 1/5, right? So if it is that you were to give the partner 1/5 of the profit, then that would be 1 divided by 5 times the 60,000, and that would give you 12,000. So working with fraction is relatively simple, just the same. It is similar if you're working with percentage, that can be done in fraction. If you're working, once you're working with a ratio, your calculation would end up being a fraction. So it is a fraction of the profit that that partner would receive. So we have gone through the process of looking at how profits and losses are shared within the business, the different ways in which you may be asked to share the profits and losses. Remember, by way of ratio, capital invested equally, by percentage, or simply fraction, right? Now, this information would be presented in the partnership deed. If the partnership deed is not present, there wasn't any agreement between the partners, then of course, profit and losses must be shared equally. This was dealt with in a previous lesson. If a partnership deed is in existence, though, there is a deed, but they did not indicate how profit and losses must be shared, you are to share the profit based on the capital invested by the partners. So again, if there is no deed, profit and losses must be shared equally. However, if there's a deed and they did not indicate how the profits and losses are to be shared, you share this by way of the capital invested by the partners. So that is it for this lesson. I know for sure that you are able to now demonstrate how to share profits or losses between partners. Okay, so once you get a question and you're asked to share the profits and losses by way of ratio, capital invested, if you're presented with a percent, if you're presented with the fraction, or if you're asked to use the capital invested, you know exactly what to do. If there is no deed, you know it must be shared equally. If there is a deed, but it was not indicated how you're to share the profits and losses, remember, you do this by way of the capital invested by the partners.
Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.